Hello and welcome back to Mac at the Movies. This week I'm bringing you another weekly spooky movie review with the film Scream that was released January 14th, 2022 by Paramount and Spyglass Media Group. This film was directed by Matt Bettinelli-Olpin and Tyler Gillette. Previously having both these directors having directed Ready or Not, which is a great film if you haven't seen it yet. Definitely go check that one out if you haven't. And then you have VHS, which started that whole series right there. That's a lot of fun. I still haven't seen the last VHS movie, but I'm definitely eager to check that one out. The cast, huge cast in this film. Starting out, we have legacy cast. Nev Campbell, Courtney Cox, David Arquette, Marley Shelton, Skeeter Ulrich, and Heather Matarazzo, who plays Randy's cousin. This is going to be a spoiler review, hence me talking about Skeeter here. But then we have new cast, Melissa Barrera, Jenna Ortega, Dylan Manette, Jasmine Brown, Sonia Amar, Mickey Madison, and Mason Gooding. This film, wow, I thought it was a lot of fun. Definitely a good way to bring back the story and to, especially getting these legacy cast members in, introducing a new set of cast members, a new storyline based off old storyline. I thought it was great. Starting out, the Scream movie, just like any other Scream movie, starts out with a murder. Somebody being stalked, answering the phone, getting the questions. And I like how the questions were based on the Stab movies and not just other movies, which comes into the whole fandom of the franchise, which is the entire point of the killer's motive. Everyone out there has their franchise, whether it be like Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th. You have the whole Texas Chainsaw Massacre thing that's been rebooted a number of times. All of these having been rebooted, remade, whatever, so many times, that instead of focusing on that, you have the film focusing on Stab. And I really like how they kind of brought all that in. I was talking with a buddy of mine, Chase, who's been on this channel before, and he discussed, I was sort of on the fence about the whole fan motive, being upset, letting them rewrite their, creating a new story that will, in a sense, rewrite a new script or create a new script in the process. And he was like, man, the internet has basically broken the world. It's ruined everything that we know and love, and just kind of sort of goes from there. I think I quoted him close to being right. But which really made me think about that. And, it's so many people either crapping on or giving bad ideas for new movies or how to create a sequel to a new movie, one thing after another. And I feel like this did a good job of showing how a fan could take it to that next level, especially in this franchise where there's always a motive based on something. And we have this whole storyline of the Stab series that's in to its 8th incarnation in this film, and how the 8th one was just terrible, where Ghostface was wearing a silver mask and he had a giant blowtorch, and it was this big Rambo type thing. And they give a nod to the reference in, I believe it was Scream 3, when they talked about how Stab 5 had time travel. They don't say it in this one, but they kind of give a nod, we're not even going to talk about Stab 5. So I definitely like how it had that in this film. What you get in the very beginning, want to play a game, let's talk about the Stab movies, and the characters I don't know about Stab. It's I saw it once 12 years ago or something like that. I don't really remember it. And they kind of go on that, and I like how they talked more about more modern horror movies such as It Follows and Hereditary, Babadook, things like that, mentioning like all that whole line of films, and how they're more like thought-provoking with underlying themes, and instead of just focusing on like old slashers and things like that, they talked about more new films. And I mean, let's start out here. I mean, we have all this stuff going on. We have this new cast that's trying to figure out what's going on, why people have come back to Woodsboro, why the Ghostface killer is coming after them, who that Ghostface might be, and then it just sort of expands from there. You bring in the legacy characters with David Arquette, Dewey, and he's just like, I'm not in the mood for interviews, and you sort of bring in you find out that Sam is the illegitimate bastard child, if you will, of Billy Loomis. And you get that storyline to add on top of this, which kind of sort of brings that back into play. She herself has all her own mental demons where she's constantly seeing visions of her father sort of directing her to do one thing or another. You know, you're my daughter, you have me, in your heart, and that means that ideally you should do this, this, and that. Sort of leading her on the same path, maybe to go after Sydney, which is one thing it kind of throws you off in the film. So for a moment, I thought Sam may have been the killer in this film. One of my first thoughts was the character of Amber. She just had that look about her, like, this bitch is gonna kill somebody. But at the same time, you kind of get through the movie and you're like, what if that's just, throwing you off the scent? And then, you have Ricky's cousins, or niece and nephew in the film, or not Ricky, Randy. Randy's niece and nephew in the film. And the whole storyline between that, and that they, they're of the same mindset as Randy was in the series. They're into films, especially the sad films, because it has to do with a dead member of their family. They have basically a shrine up for Randy in the living room, and they start talking about the whole idea of the requel, the reboot sequel, and their ideas of everything. And I was like, I mean, wouldn't that be insane? Because you have the two killers, you have these twins here that know an awful lot about this, and what if their motive is to go after Sydney? Because if her family, any of that would have, never happened because of her, then, maybe their uncle would have been alive. And, clearly I was wrong in that. You get to that point in the film where you're like, well, that's not the case. But it kind of leads you going down that path for a second. But yeah, you get Amber and was it Ricky? I think was the boyfriend, Sam's boyfriend in the film. You have those two killers. You find out they're the ones going after everything. It's the whole fan theory, or they're fans of the Stab movie, and the studios have just screwed up left and right, and they're trying to fix that. They're trying to create a new storyline that they can make a new movie on, based on a murder that they did, to bring the Stab franchise back to its, once long lost glory. I would say my biggest gripe in this movie, my two biggest gripes, is you find out that Amber's the one that kills Dewey, which my favorite scene in the entire movie. When Dewey's like getting off the elevator, like, no, you have to make sure that they're dead, shoot him in the head. And they're like, no, like, come on, let's go. I like how the door shuts. He's like, no, the door shuts, and he goes back. The first thing out of my mouth was Han Solo. Like, this is that Han Solo moment where he goes to, make sure of what he knows, the last bit of help he can muster, and he just gets too close and dies. gets stabbed. And that whole scene, I was just like, wow. And the whole like knife in the front and the back, lifting him. I guess, I'd have to rewatch the movie. I don't know if they lifted him up off the ground. I thought I saw his feet come up off the ground a little bit and twitch or something, but it could have just been camera perspective. I was talking with Chase earlier, and we were thinking, like, we don't know if we necessarily saw him come off the ground, or if, she just kind of lifted the knives up and, cut them up the front and the back. But that scene, this was an honor. And, when Ghostface is standing over Dewey's body and has both knives out, the colors of that scene popped. It was like, if it wasn't so morbid, I would love to have that like blown up in a poster and like, I don't know, hanging up in my movie room or something, like, because it's just the scene alone, the colors, everything is just beautiful. And it was just such an epic moment, Dewey dying off and everything like that. But that, and I wasn't a big fan, like, you get the character of Billy Loomis that sort of shadows back in Sam's, mental thoughts, like she sees him. I don't like how at the very end it made like a hero out of the bad guy. Like, I see where like he pointed her at the knife and different things like that to help her because she's his daughter. But the whole, the very end, she sees the reflection, and it was kind of like if this was an old Western, he would have like tilted the hat like, you done good, kid. But like, I guess it's a way to redeem that character in her eyes, for future movies. Yeah, he's still the bad guy. He's still the villain. He's still one of the people that initially started this whole mess that just seems to continue like so many years later. But that was one thing I wasn't a big fan of. Again, like, there were a lot of weird twists and turns in this movie. Nothing too crazy or big, but like, I like when the sheriff, you thought the sheriff's son was gonna die, and then she's running up to the house to save her son, and then Ghostface comes out and boom, right there. It was like a trap, killing off like your first legacy character there. And then you have, or I guess if you can call her a legacy character, she was in number 4, so I'm guessing legacy character. I guess legacy referring to when Wes Craven was doing films. But, she dies. And then you have that entire scene where it's like, it just seems like a jump scare is about to happen. And then all of a sudden, boom. It was like, it seemed like 8 different jump scares just to get to that one final, like, knife in the neck. And holy crap, that was like, whoa. Like, great moment, great scene in horror. All in all, man, this movie was good. For what it was, you're not going to get the original. If you're a big fan of the original trilogy, if you're a big fan of the original 4, you're not going to, I guess, get what you're looking for. You're not going to get the same storyline. But why do you want the same storyline? You don't want your favorite band to make the same album over and over and over again. What's the point? So you're going to have that new storyline, a fresh perspective. And I like that. I really enjoyed that. It wasn't necessarily about Sydney or Ghostface coming after Sydney per se with some ulterior motive like, you screwed my dad and blah, 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 and now I'm going to screw you. Like, it was this whole, like a different motive. It was a very selfish motive. And I liked that. Like, it was, I don't think that motive would ever take place in real life. Like, I don't think anyone's going to go killing somebody just so the next Friday the 13th movie happens in the winter. Like, yeah. So, but all in all, like, a great film. One of my favorite moments, it was another, like, there were a couple moments where I blurted out, like with David Arquette, I was like, oh, Han Solo. It's like, we're going to have a Han Solo moment. And just different things like that. But when Amber, they douse her with the rubbing alcohol, the hand sanitizer, and they end up pushing her onto the stove, and she catches fire and everything like that. You think she's dead after everything that goes down, but you know, there's always that one last scare, and she pops up and comes back after them, like all charred up and burnt. And I was like, whoa, easy there, Bride of Chucky. That was like one of the first thoughts and blurts out of my mouth during that film. Great movie. I really liked it. I do know that there were some folks that thought that Neve Campbell and Courtney Cox should have died off too, to get rid of the legacy cast, bringing the new cast into further films, so you don't have to focus all on that last cast. But I mean, if this finished as is, I think that would have been great. Or at least, like, if they did kill off Neve Campbell, at least like have that like last moment, like maybe in the credits, like they have the sheet over her, and maybe you see her hand move or something, to signify that, you know, just like Laurie Strode, we could have a movie 30 years down the line or 40 years down the line, if, you know, she makes it that long, and we have Grandma Sydney now, you know, encountering Ghostface yet again. So who knows, maybe that'll be an idea for another movie. But yeah, there were some folks that thought that the legacy cast should have been just killed off. I mean, you could have done that. That could have happened, and you could have had your one last remaining legacy cast member being Randy's sister to come up like with the next movie with, I don't know, some rule or something like that. Or even have, you know, her son and daughter, Randy's niece and nephew, you know, they kind of steer that in that direction because they're both the big movie buffs. But yeah, I absolutely love this movie. I definitely give it 4 stars out of 5. I definitely check it out. It's a great movie. You know, go into it without any expectations being wowed, like you're going to see the original movie all over again for the first time. You're not going to. This is a sequel, rebooted from the franchise, and I definitely think that just going in with the no expectations, you're going to leave being pleased, or at least ideally you should. But I've been wrong in the past, and it's all down to the eye of the beholder, your perspective, what you feel about the movie anyway. So definitely give it 4 out of 5 stars. Check it out. Thank you everyone for checking out this spoil-ridden review, and throw down in the comments below, like, what was your favorite kill in the movie? What was your favorite part of the movie? What was your favorite Scream movie? What's your favorite scary movie? So many things. And even though it didn't seem that way, yeah, the original voice came back for Ghostface, but just like the lightsaber in Star Wars, it wasn't the same. Something was off. Something was different. The studio tweaked it just a bit. But, you know, it is what it is. The original voice came back. I guess they did the best that they could do to make it as it was in the original. But again, it's not the original. It's a whole new group, a whole new cast. Yeah, so jot that down. All that stuff in the comments below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, notification bell, carve a jack-o'-lantern. Whatever you want to do, you can do it. Thank you for stopping by. As always, be good with one another, and I'll see you next time. Bye.